Hello and welcome to the Annestes Thoroughbreds webinar presented by SportBLX. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatal. Very happy to be with you for what promises to be an entertaining and educational show. I'm here with you at Walton Whitman Brewery in Saratoga Springs, and we're going to be talking a lot about what's going on at Saratoga this weekend, specifically this extremely exciting Travers Stakes featuring the return to the races of Max Player. I want to introduce the team that's going to be with us for this webinar first and foremost. And we'll start off with the man who's really behind so much of what we're going to be talking about tonight. He is the owner of Annestes Farm, the co-founder of SportBLX, a classic winning owner, George Hall. George, how are you tonight?
Peter, I'm very well, thanks. Excited to be here, and thanks to everybody for joining.
I also want to bring in a man who's absolutely essential to SportBLX. In fact, I think it's right to say that SportBLX in many ways was his brainchild. He's the CEO and co-founder of SportBLX, Joe DePerio. Joe, what's up, my man?
Thank you, Peter. Happy to be here.
And we've got a couple of other very special guests. One of them is going to be joining us a little bit later. The other I'm very happy to bring in right now. She is a very easy person to admire. She's won many training titles, including her historic run in 2009 when she won the title right here at Saratoga. She is the trainer of Max Player. She's Linda Rice. Linda, how are you tonight?
I'm great, Peter. It's good to be here. We're excited about this weekend.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, I know you've got places to go and horses to see. So I wanted to start things off tonight by chatting with you with the question on everybody's lips, and that is Max Player for this weekend. How is he doing? How was his ship up to Saratoga? And what do you think about this race this weekend?
Well, he shipped up yesterday afternoon, and this morning was his first day training over the Saratoga course. And his eyes were big, and he was looking around, but he really enjoyed himself. He trained great, and we've got another couple days to gallop him over the course. But he's fresh. This afternoon at feed time, he was on his toes, very playful, happy to be here. So we're excited about this weekend.
I'm curious to know what goes into the decision of whether to bring a horse for a target like this year's Travers up here earlier as opposed to bring him in as you've done with Max Player. What goes into the decision of when to bring a horse to a track that they're shipping to compete in a target like the Travers?
You know, it depends. It's a logistical thing. Because of the COVID, my entire stable's been training at Belmont, including Max Player. So I didn't want him out of his element. I mean, he has his regular groom, his regular rider, everything at Belmont. And I did not want to disrupt his routine. So now that we've gotten close to the race and we did all the heavy work at Belmont, we just brought him in to gallop over the course a couple of days and then go. But he has shipped and raced very well in the past. We shipped him to Parks the morning of the race twice. He performed well. He shipped from Belmont over to Aqueduct when he won the Withers. There was no problem in any of those races with shipping. So I wasn't concerned about the ship. I just wanted to keep his schedule and his daily routine intact.
Absolutely makes sense. To me, one of the things I'm so intrigued by about Max Player as a prospect is the fact, like, during his races, he shapes like a horse that's going to appreciate the extra ground, the 10 furlongs he's going to get on Saturday, and then presumably again on the first Saturday in September in the Kentucky Derby, God willing, and the creek don't rise. Would you agree with that assessment, that this is a horse, the extra ground is going to be his friend?
Yes, and in every one of his races, whether the two races at Parks, the Withers, the Belmont, all four of his races, he was closing ground on the end of every race. So, and with his pedigree and his confirmation, and of course, all of those races, he makes you believe that he wants the mile and a quarter.
I wanted to ask you about your relationship with the team here and how they compare to other racehorse ownership groups that you've dealt with in your career.
Well, frankly, it's been a real pleasure to deal with George Hall and his team.
he's going to take off your.
Hello, Peter.
Yes, we're hearing you, Linda. We have a little interference from our next special guest, who we'll be getting to in just a moment. But you were coming through loud and clear. You were just mentioning about that it's been a pleasure to work with George.
Yes, it really has. I mean, it's a new relationship. You know, I've been working for George about a year now, but it's been a real pleasure to work with both him. He understands the game. He's realistic. You know, whether it be good news, bad news, or indifferent, he rolls with the punches very well. And then, of course, his entire team there at SportBLX and in the city, I've found to be very easy to work with and very enjoyable.
Now, you're no stranger to making history, Linda. We talked before about your historic Saratoga training title win, and the coverage of that at the time. It was just a fantastic story. What about being just the very prospect of potentially becoming a female winning trainer of the Travers Stakes? Does the history you've made along the way make these accomplishments of yours extra special, or are you just a horse trainer whose job is to take care of your charges and get them out there ready to roll for themselves and for their connections?
Well, I am the latter. I'm a trainer that no matter what day of the week is, it could be a Wednesday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. My job is to get that horse there, you know, to the winner's circle. But the historic nature of winning training titles or winning at Saratoga or winning the Travers or Triple Crown race does not escape me, you know. And I must say, though, that whether I was the first or the 15th, winning the Travers would be a great joy in any trainer's career.
Oh, no doubt. A fantastic achievement. We're going to let you get out of here in a minute because I know you're very busy, but I do want to go through some of Max's back form with you and talk about the races and the improvement you've seen since the first time he set foot on a race course in the afternoon. Would you be willing to do that with me for a minute?
Absolutely, Peter.
Excellent. Well, let's go back to the very beginning on his first appearance on the race course, which happened at Parks back in November. That day in the paddock, what did you think you had on your hands?
You know, George and I had spoke about the horse and the fact that his workouts were a bit pedestrian at the time. And we felt we brought him along as far as we could, and we wanted to get him started. I picked a spot at Parks, trying to not set the bar too high for him, and we were just hoping for the best. We weren't sure what we were going to get, but he really came running at the end of it, and we were very pleased.
You were able to come back just a little more than a month later, once again at Parks in that maiden special weight race. The market had adjusted its expectations, sending him off as the even money favorite. Were you super confident for that day?
Yeah, you know, we added blinkers to him because of his green nature in his races. And between the blinkers and the fact that he showed so much closing kick in the previous start, he got our attention, he got the public's attention as well.
From there, you made the decision off that maiden win to enter him in a stakes race. What was he doing after that first race that gave you the confidence that that was the right next move?
You know, he at that time, obviously we knew that he liked the distance, and this race was for straight 3-year-olds at 1 1/8 miles. It was February. I had taken a look at the competition and spoke to George and just thought, you know what, we need to give this a try. I didn't think we would go off at 9-2, but you know, I thought it was worth a shot, and of course it turned out well.
It certainly did, winning that one by more than 3 lengths, improving the Beyer speed figure in every start to that point. And after that, with everything crazy going on in the world, I assume that contributed to the fact that there was a layoff until the Belmont Stakes just back on June 20th. How was he doing during that time, and what were your emotions regarding him heading into the classic, the Belmont Stakes?
Well, you know, we were very disappointed that the Wood Memorial was canceled due to the COVID, because we were going from the Withers to the Wood Memorial and on to Kentucky was our original plan. But of course, the world changed, and we had to change with it. And I must say, in looking, trying to plan ahead, you know, we just kept him on a breeze schedule to maintain some base fitness. And then we found a few targets to point at. but we decided those targets really didn't make sense. And then we waited for the Belmont. I think that was a good decision in the end.
Once again, the speed figure improved. It was a very brave run through the lane to run up in the money in a classic. And I'll ask you a question. I'll let you handicap your owner here for a minute, who had classic success on his resume. What was his excitement level about this horse through the journey?
You know, George, we were all thrilled when this horse, we were relieved when he performed so well at Parks and he showed up. We needed him to show up. And he did. And then we were all so thrilled that that's a big step to go from a maiden race at Parks on to winning the Withers. And then, of course, we've been in this holding pattern for 5 months, but he really performed. It was a superb race in the Belmont as well. So now here we are at the Travers, and the competition is strong, but we're in it, and we are live. You know, we're very live.
That's great to hear. Last question. I swear I'm going to let you go soon, Linda, to get all your stuff done. But I want to bring in George for his perspective on this horse's development and also the job you've done. It's not too often you look at a horse's PPs and see the constant improvement and the tune that you've gotten out of Max Player to this point. And it's hard not to notice, just as somebody who believes in numbers and patterns, that if the improvement continues the way it has so far, the sky's clearly the limit with this horse. But George, what's this experience been like for you working with Linda with this horse?
It's been great. You know, I've had great experiences with Kelly Breen, and I asked Linda to train this horse really because I wanted to stay in New York, and I know some of her other owners, and everyone loves Linda, and so it's been a great experience. We talk a lot, but ultimately Linda's the expert, so I try to yield to her views. And you know, she clearly from day one said this is a 2-turn horse. He's not a blazing speed horse. We're going to need distance, and she called it right. That first race, I never had a horse that I was afraid was going to hit the outside rail. He went so wide. And but then when he came running, it was clear that he had some talent, and then he's shown that talent. As far as, you know, you've talked about the progression to the Belmont Stakes, he really, you know, he had what I consider a tough trip, inside, outside, a little check back there. He showed a lot of heart down that stretch, and you know, he may have been the fastest last quarter mile of that race. So that was just, his heart was great. We would have preferred to do a little better place-wise, but I think it was great. And Linda has called it properly with this horse. She seems to know exactly what he's capable of and what's on his mind, and it's been great.
Linda, you've been around so many good horses throughout your career. Just curious to get a little bit of perspective about how talented you think Max Player is, and what you're expecting to see from him the rest of this campaign.
You know, Max Player has been a little bit of an enigma all along. I think in that, you know, he's a horse that didn't show a lot of speed in his workouts to begin with. But I think that this horse has improved so much from his 2-year-old, let's say last fall, till February, from February to June. And I think that he's going to be a good 3-year-old and an even better 4-year-old.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much, Linda, for taking time out. I want to let you get on with your evening, but appreciate your time so much tonight and wish you Godspeed this weekend.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, good stuff from Linda Rice. Let's take a little bit of a look into this Travers field that Max Player is going to be facing. George, we'll bring it back to you real quick, just to ask you how you feel about this this situation that you find yourselves in. You're able to fly a little bit under the radar with so much of the media attention going to Tiz the Law and, of course, Uncle Chuck invading for Bob Baffert. I know based on your past success, you don't mind being perceived as a little bit of the underdog. What are your thoughts heading into this weekend?
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. You know, we won the Belmont Stakes with Ruler on Ice at 24-1. We actually had a lot more faith in that horse than the 24-1 showed, because if you look at his previous races, he was always in the money. And it was actually, I think, the blinkers that turned him around and got him to win that race. He went on to be 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Classic, best of all 3-year-olds. So he was a real quality horse, not just a one-time winner. I think, obviously, Tiz the Law is the class of the entire 3-year-old field nationwide. He's a spectacular horse, so of course he's going to be intimidating, and he's beaten us once already. I had two quality horses in the 2011 Haskell, and Baffert flew in coil and beat us all. So I'm always a little worried. You know, Bob Baffert doesn't ship horses in without a purpose. So you got to always take his horses seriously. And his success has been so great that obviously all his horses get a lot of attention. But I'm really excited about the extra distance in this race. And, you know, as long as Max Player keeps showing positive improvement, I'm excited about this race.
George, you know, another way to look at it is you owe Baffert one. Maybe.
That's a way to look at it.
All right, I want to take this opportunity to bring in the next member of our team, and I'm excited to talk to everybody on this call, but nobody more than this man. I could spend the next 5 minutes at least introducing him, but let's just stick with Racing Hall of Famer, George Wolf Award winner, known for horses including Pleasant Colony and Travers winner Alidar. He's Georgie Velasquez. Georgie, how are you tonight?
Georgie, you're going to have to unmute your phone, please.
We'll get him. We'll get him. I think that's it. Are you there, Georgie?
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you sound good now. You sound good now. How are you tonight, my friend?
Fine. Thank you. I was trying to get in for a long time, but I was having a hard time.
All that matters is that you made it. It's just, it doesn't matter how bad the trip was, right? As long as you get your nose on the line first, you're the winner. And that's the way we feel having you here tonight, my friend.
That's right. Thank you very much.
I want to ask you, Georgie, about your involvement with SportBLX and why you believe in this company.
Well, first of all, I'm ready and I'm glad to help people that don't know much about racing. And knowing George Hall for a long time, he's a very, very knowledgeable horseman. And I know this is very exciting just to own a horse or to own a part of a horse. So let's have fun.
I love it. Let's talk about Max Player. What have you thought of his career so far, and what do you make of that improvement we've talked about? It's not that often you see a horse improve every start the way this one has. What are your thoughts on Max Player?
Well, first of all, he's well-bred. He's a well-bred horse. He comes from a family that from way back, Seattle Slew, Mr. Prospector, all those big horses. So, and he's a horse that he's got the ability to become a champion. And the further he goes, the better it is for him. And he's well trained by Linda Rice. She knows what she's doing. So let's hope that we have a champion.
Well, I think you know something about sitting on the backs of champions. So that means extra it means extra from you heading into this weekend's Travers and everything that comes next. How do you think this horse's form is shaping up for a test like Saturday's Travers Stakes?
Well, you know, those two horses, they're very, very tough horses. The one that beat him already.
Is the law.
Is the law. And the other horse, Uncle Chuck, whatever his name is, good horse. Good horse.
I like the trash talking, Georgie. I like that. I feel like I'm back in the jocks room sitting between you and Cordero with the trash talking.
Anyway, those two horses are great. They're good horses. But Max Player, he's got the ability and he is developing. He's getting better and better and better. So, and with the job that Linda Rice is doing, we know that he's going to be right there. He's going to be right there, and hopefully we have a three-year-old champion.
I want to ask you about riding Saratoga specifically. Obviously, it's changed over the years, but there are some aspects of it are the same. What do you think makes the Saratoga course unique? And what are the keys to riding successfully up here?
Well, for some reason, the surface, the ground is a little bit different than other tracks, and that's why some horses run very well, some that don't run well, and the champions get beat over there and all that stuff. And in my times, there was only like 25 days racing, so you have to, in the first week, you have to try to get your money from your rent back. It take you for $3,000 to $5,000 for a house, and so you have to make it up right away, as soon as possible. But it's beautiful. There's so many good restaurants, nice people. People love racing, and you get like pumped up when Saratoga comes. You know they're gonna make the whole year and what that meet, but you want to do good. Because Saratoga is crazy about horse racing, and you have to try your best and do whatever you can do to be a leading rider, a leading trainer, a leading owner, a leading horse, whatever, you know.
You talk about that sense of community among horse racing fans that we have here in Saratoga. It's so special to be able to go anywhere in town and have that opportunity to find somebody who you can talk about that hot 2-year-old race coming up on a Saturday or whatever the big stakes race is. One of the things I love about this sports block concept is the chance to be part of a team and be connected with like-minded people with whom you can create a community and talk about horse racing. Is that part of the appeal for you, Georgia? You mentioned about liking being able to share your knowledge of racing with other people. I would imagine that Sport Blocks gives you a real opportunity to do that.
Yes, definitely. It is. It's so great to when you going to work horses in the morning and you see so many people, the lines of people walking into the track. That right there makes you feel like, man, these people really love racing, and they're up early. They're up 5:30, 6 in the morning just to watch their workouts. So that makes it so interesting and exciting. You know, it's like another part of racing, another world of racing, because New York is every day is the same thing, but over there is different. Over there, you have the people out, you got the restaurants, you have the activities, you have everything that to make yourself comfortable and likable over there. You know,
Georgie, I would be accused of a host fail if I didn't ask you one very specific question, since we're talking all about Saratoga and we're talking all about the Travers Stakes. I want to ask you what your memories are a few years down the road when you think back to the 1978 Travers, which a race that you, of course, won on Ali Dar. What goes through your mind when you think back to that Saturday?
Oh my God. I don't really like to think back about that, though, that I was put up, that I won up a winner anyway. But I remember that about the 3.5 pole or so, Lafitte and Kai was in a firm, and he came in sharply. And he shut me off. He almost put me over the fence, almost went up in the lake. But I lost my position, everything else, and went back to fourth. And my horse, it was so good that he came back slowly and come on. And he was good enough to finish second, closing. But there was a steward's inquiry. And then, hey, I have to claim foul. And rarely they're going to take a horse down in that kind of race, you know. But it was so obvious. It was so bad. I got bothered badly that they took him down. And that was not the way that I wanted to win. You know, I was pretty upset. I was very, very upset. But hey, I got the winner anyway. I got money, like Woody Stevens. I got the money.
upset all the way to the bank, it sounds like. Do you remember the conversation you had with Lafitte after the race? Do you remember what you said to each other in the jocks room after that unforgettable but controversial Travers in '78?
No. I didn't want to get into argue anything with Lafitte because we went up throwing punches. So what I did, I went back to the jocks room and I went upstairs. They have like a sleeping room upstairs, and I lie down there and tried to swallow my words, you know. So I was there, and they were looking for me. I was supposed to ride the last race, and they didn't know. Nobody knew what I was. So I was there for a little while, for maybe half an hour or so, until I came down, and then everything was okay. But no, we never had an argument or any problem about the race or anything. We talk about it at times, yes, we did. And the excuse he gave me was like, well, I know that the Cordero was looking for me, and he was taking me out, and he was taking me out, going to my phone. We were way out there, and I miss George, he says. When finally he just came in, he missed George, how far he was coming in, and he got me.
Amazing stuff.
So yeah, things are happening in racing, you know, but it should never happen in racing like that with such a professional rider like Lafitte.
Georgie, you know, thank you so much for sharing that thought and all your thoughts on this weekend's racing. Stay right there. We want to keep you on the call, but we are going to move things along to our next topic, and I'm going to send things back to George for a minute and ask a little more about SportBLX and the connection with Annestes Thoroughbreds. George, can you explain to the audience the link between these two entities?
Sure. So first, I have to digress for a second. For people that aren't familiar with it, you've got to go and watch the '78 Travers. And frankly, a lot of people have heard of Affirmed, you know, until America Faro. Affirmed was the last Triple Crown winner, but you've got to watch all those Triple Crown races and see Aladar. It's really amazing. The history of horse racing is fascinating. And there's so much more to horse racing than the Kentucky Derby and the Triple Crown that everybody's familiar with. So the idea, so I have a farm, my family has a farm in Versailles, Kentucky, where we started to breed some horses back in 2007, I think. And we've had some great success. And, you know, people tend to know a little bit more about Ruler on Ice that I had that won the Belmont. But I also had a horse, Pants on Fire, that won the Louisiana Derby and then went to the Kentucky Derby. And the fact that Pants on Fire was a horse that we bred, meaning we owned the mother, we raised the horse from a baby, Dale Holly, who runs the farm, raised the horse, and then we trained it and got to the Derby. There's so much additional satisfaction from seeing the horse when it was a baby all the way through the Kentucky Derby. So what I would like to do with SportBLX is give people the opportunity to own a small piece of the interest in a horse, so they can not only enjoy these big races, but also learn about some of the other races, because there are going to be races that Max Player's in that I'll bet a lot of our investors never heard of before, and are going to find some new interest in it. And then there's going to be other horses that are going to provide new thrills for people. And then there are going to be some horses that are born on the farm that people will see and will share videos and so forth. And to the extent that we can breed another big winner like Max Player, I think it'll be really exciting for people to be part of this with us.
Joe, I want to bring you back in, because one of the things we've talked about on other calls and on the podcast is one of the things that makes the SportBLX partnership so unique. And it gets into what George is saying. This isn't just buying a piece of a horse for its racing days. This is an opportunity to participate in much more than that. I'd love if you could, in your own words, describe what your vision for this partnership was. And then we'll get into a little bit about how things got rolling. But talk more about how different the SportBLX model is, if you will, than a lot of what else is out there.
So I think George and I share very similar views about bringing more people and more capital into the sport. I think he and I were exposed to horse racing at a young age. His grandfather took him and his brother John to Belmont, and similarly, my father took me to the races at a young age. We were even at the 1987 Travers, where I had a $2 bet on Java Gold at 5. But our goals are to expose more people to the sport. And right now, an average fan can bet on a race. An average fan can join a syndicate, or even make a claim and buy an inexpensive horse at a minor track. I think what we're doing is offering not only access to racing at the highest levels, but also access to the full life cycle of a horse. So I think it's rare that a partnership or a corporation offers shares for a horse that you can watch run in the Travers on Saturday, and then if all goes well, onto the Derby and hopefully the Breeders' Cup. So I think that's unique. I think there are other exciting horses in the portfolio as well within Annestes. So Swingman just got to Churchill. It is under the care of Kenny McPeak. He's a tonalist colt, another great up-and-coming sire, won the Belmont Stakes. And he should go to the races in November. So not only will you have the excitement of watching Max run in the Travers this weekend, but stay tuned to Tonalist in November or later in Churchill. There's also a filly in the portfolio, a Munnings filly out of a AP Indy mare. Munnings is a very en vogue sire right now for
one of my
favorites.
Yep.
And she'll go to the sale. So she's been confirmed for book 2 with the sale. Dale Holly, who runs Annestes for George day to day, has done a great job with her, and I think it's just as exciting watching an auction on the Keeneland website that it is watching a horse run, especially if you hit the reserve. So we're excited about that.
Spoken like a finance guy, but yes.
Exactly. And then of course there's a weanling out of that same AP Indy mare bred to Midnight Loop. Dale Holly says that she's correct, that he is correct, and hopefully he'll be a good runner, and then it's up to the corporation whether to race him or to sell him. So I think we're offering multiple bites at the apple, for lack of a better term, and you get the excitement of watching Max run on national TV on Saturday, but there's also other pearls in the portfolio.
Many chances not only to have success near term, but also potentially far term, and also to learn all about the business and the different phases of the business for a remarkably low investment and risk. I feel like the risk and reward in this offer is truly impressive and something people need to be paying attention to. George, I want to bring you back in to explain a little bit about the different offerings in the portfolio. The last time we were doing a webinar together, we were talking about the previous offering, the Annestes offering, now something new, but maybe some of the uninitiated here can use a little bit of a description of how this business model works with the different funds, if you will.
Yeah, so each will be issuing shares of corporations. And again, these shares they'll be designed, and each corporation will be designed to provide a different purpose and levels of interest. And these are investments, but they're really things that are supposed to be enjoyable for people and to get them to appreciate horse racing at every level. So we can envision offerings of a portfolio of horses managed by one trainer, for example. If people want to invest in a Linda Rice portfolio, she can raise some capital through our platform and invest in horses that she sees fit. We'd like to offer this to other trainers. We'd like to offer it to other owners that want to expand their portfolio. So what we're going to do, what our role at SportBLX is to come up with logical portfolios of horses managed by people and provide all the information to potential investors. And hopefully people will take a look at all of our offerings and have fun with all of them.
That's a perfect lead-in to my next question, which is about the specifics of this offer, which Joe was talking about before, obviously. But I'm curious, George, to get your perspective on this as well, and just remind folks again what they're getting for this $200 initial investment, with the possibility of turning into months, if not years, if not a decade of experience in the thoroughbred racing game.
So Annestes is a farm, the farm in Kentucky that I mentioned, and it's produced some great horses in the past. Some horses that weren't so fast and didn't race well, but we've had some really good success. One Derby participant, hopefully another one. So it occurred to us after 15 years or so that we really had some pretty good statistics with producing good runners. And the life cycle is really interesting. So this portfolio will be only of horses that have been bred on this farm. And, you know, farms are somewhat unique, and they have particular people that raise the horses on the farm. The farms have, you know, certain soil qualities and so forth. And for whatever reason, we've had some pretty good success breeding horses on this farm. So Max Player was born on this farm. Swingman was born on the farm. The filly and the foal that we've talked about were all born on the farm. So this portfolio will be always a portfolio of Annestes Farm thoroughbreds.
Fantastic. And again, $200 gets you the chance for potentially years of action and excitement and memories. It's great to hear you guys run through this new portfolio and look ahead to this weekend. And it's pretty exciting. It's definitely something that the folks listening are going to want to pull the trigger on and get involved in. I do want to talk a little bit more about the general business model. This time, you know, we've talked a lot about this from a sporting perspective and a love of horse racing perspective, but I want to talk about it a little bit from an investment perspective. And we've hinted around some of these things throughout the course of our call today. But Joe, I'll bring you back in to just talk about the difference in this Annestes offering from specifically contrast it with a lot of what else is out there in terms of potential thoroughbred investments.
So if I'm a person that's looking to make a horse investment today, you know, one option is to invest into a syndicate for a horse that's racing. And often what happens in that syndicate model is the horse races, and at the end of the life, the horse is sold. I think what we're offering is two different things. We're offering a portfolio, so you have multiple opportunities to create value, and also multiple points of content creation that we can absorb on and share on a weekly basis. And secondarily, we also capture the full life cycle of the horse. So knock on wood, Max wins a Grade 1 race and he becomes a stallion prospect, given that he's got exceptional pedigree. And a shareholder of the corporation prospectively would have those equity earnings from him being a stallion as well. And I think what you'll see us do is create a continued portfolio and ongoing corporation or enterprise that will continue to look out for our shareholders and try to create wealth. I think ultimately this is horse racing, so everybody needs to know what the risks are. But along the way, it'll be certainly fun. You know, you'll be able to watch your horses run, and we'll keep the market and our shareholders attuned to what the latest content is, and even behind the scenes stuff that you otherwise want to get from elsewhere.
You go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, I think this YouTube chat will be well subscribed, and I think what we found at our similar conversation before the Belmont was that, you know, people love to talk about racing, and having a vested interest in a horse. You know, it's part of the experience of like-minded people, like you said, creating a community around the racehorse.
There's nothing like the thrill of having a horse in a race. And I know from my own experiences from horses that I've had 1% of versus horses I've had 10% of. I've never had more than 10%, but the marginal difference isn't much. It's the thrill of being involved. It's the thrill of being on a team. But what really intrigues me about what you're doing is this idea that yes, there's this amazing ownership piece of it, but there's also this buying and selling stocks and this portfolio management aspect that, as far as I know, doesn't exist anywhere else. Joe, what can you tell me about that?
So all of our offerings are either registered with the SEC or exempt from registration. So you're actually buying securities on a broker-dealer For the Annestes offering, we will be able to offer liquidity or secondary trading for our shareholders 1 year from the date of the offering. So that's the rule with the SEC. Upon 1 year, our platform can make a market of these shares, and people will be able to trade them in the secondary market. Our vision is to have a very liquid marketplace in the future for all sports, not just horse racing, and have multiple offerings where people can actually build portfolios. While I wouldn't expect people to build an investment portfolio about racing, that should be considered fun. Certainly what we're doing in other sports like basketball and baseball, that merits consideration for their investment portfolios, and we think we're creating great securities that will be time tested.
George, I want to bring you back in. We've talked about the idea that based on his achievements so far, the precocity that he's shown, the grade 1 placing in a classic, the idea of Max Player's potential as a stallion. As somebody who knows the breeding side of the business, what do you see as his upside potential in the breeding shed?
So, he's got great breeding to begin with. So he's already got the pedigree that would lead a horse to be capable of breeding. So now it's up to him to win some big races. So I guess a good rule of thumb is if you win a grade 1, you've got a pretty good shot at being a stallion. So clearly the winner of the Travers will be a good stallion prospect. Even potentially whoever places in the Travers could be a potentially good stallion prospect. Horses that place in the Kentucky Derby have a good shot at being a stallion. So the whole idea is there's a lot of horses that'll have some success racing and winning purses. Some won't. But to be a stallion, you've really got to be the cream of the crop of that year. So, a grade 1 win is probably, and a couple of grade 1 wins is really what it takes to actually be a successful stallion.
I love that idea of the combination of precocity and classic success. I mean, that's impressive. So now I'm going to ask you a hideously unfair question. I warn you in advance. Do you see, Max continues along this trajectory and becomes a coveted stallion prospect? Would you consider letting him stand at a different farm, or would you want to stand him at Annestes someday?
So that's actually a really good point that I'd like to talk about. Investing in horse, this investment hopefully is going to be fun for people. I would not look at this like an investment where you're going to make money, and we want to provide liquidity, but that doesn't mean people are going to be trading these stocks to make money. I think we'll always do what's in the best interest of shareholders to hopefully make some money and minimize any potential loss of money. So if he becomes a stallion prospect and we think we can stand him at the Annestes farm, and the cost control and our ability to get mares in there to him, we would try to do that if it was in shareholders' interest. But if it turned out that we could do a deal with another, well-known stallion farm and their marketing and their reach helps us, then we'll do that. But we do have a very nice stallion barn at the Annestes farm that's yet unused. So we'd like to. If Max will cooperate, we'll cooperate.
I love the sound of it. We're getting ready to recap and close, but I do want to bring Georgie back in here for a minute. I've got 2 more questions for him, and we're going to start out, Georgie. I want to ask you about the current jockeys at Saratoga. Do you have a favorite jockey at Saratoga right now? Maybe one who reminds you of a young you?
I'll tell you what, those the 2 brothers, the Ortiz brothers, they are very, very good riders, and they're young, and they're aggressive. So you got to battle them. Alvarado, it's a good rider. Castellano, top rider. Velasquez, you can even, what can you say? Johnny is one of the best.
Legend.
Yes. But these kids, they're coming up. And if you go to a racetrack, you got to bet those kids because they always 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it's a pleasure to watch him ride because one is a little more aggressive than the other one. I would say Iron is a little more aggressive But Jose, he's got the hands, he's got the mind. He slows down. He knows when to come, not to get stopped, and all that stuff. Yeah, so they're pretty good. Let me tell you, I wish I was riding nowadays because that's the competition I like. The competition I have on my days was Angel and Ronnie Turca, Maple, Pink Eye when he comes in town, and every now and then. But it was a lot different.
Oh,
You
no
know.
doubt. You and Lafitte, it sounds like you and Lafitte did eventually make up and move on and remain friends even after that incident we were talking about before in '78.
Oh yeah, Lafitte and I, we are very, very close friends from Panama, not from here, from Panama. When I started over there and he started over there. So that's why when he bothered me so bad, I was so mad. I cannot fight the guy because he's such a close friend of mine.
That's
so
amazing.
I disappeared. So he could not come over and apologize or whatever. Yeah.
These jockeys, I mean, for the audience, I don't know if you've ever thought about it this way, but just imagine it's like if boxers then went back and changed in the same dressing room, or if you're a hockey fan, the Rangers and the Flyers are out there, 1970s style, beating each other and going back and changing in the same locker room. It's amazing, the competition, the camaraderie, and it's been so great to have Georgie with us here tonight, an all-time great. Last question for you, Georgie, then we will ask you to hang on till the end of the show, which isn't going to be too much longer. But I just want to ask you about this race, one more time about this race on Saturday, the Travers Stakes. What do you think we're going to see from Max Player?
Well, Max Player, in my opinion, if I was on it, I let him relax like he always do. Let him sit back there. And when he's ready, I'm going to come, but I'm going to try to save all the ground that I can. Because he already got beat with the other horse, this dinner. So I will save the ground, and if I don't have to come out, I'll stay inside, save the ground, and come charging at the end. If I have to come out at quarter pole, then I come out. And apparently, he does his best races outside, but you don't have to be outside from the beginning. You can save the ground, and when you're ready to come out, come out. Try to come out like 2 horses wide, not 3 horses wide, not 5 or 6 horses wide. Because when you get to the 8th pole, your horse is gonna flatten out, and it's gonna get tired, and you don't have a horse to finish. So you gotta save the ground and make the right move, and you gotta have the nerve to stay inside, and those kind of races especially, to stay inside and wait and wait and wait for the last minute.
There it is, folks. That's the blueprint. That's the blueprint from the Hall of Famer right there, in the way he'd like to see Max Player ridden on Saturday. And I think it's great advice. And it's been great chatting with him. It's been great chatting with this entire team throughout this entire call. I want to let folks know, I'm sure there's a lot of questions out there, and we've got a lot of answers. If you head over to sportblocks.com, that's SportBLX.com. You can check out all the details. You have an opportunity to ask specific questions there. You'll learn everything you need to know about this Annestes Thoroughbreds offer. Don't forget, we're talking about the ability to invest as little as $200 and get years, maybe decades of fun and action, as well as memories that will last a lifetime. You can go check it all out at sportblx.com. And with that, I want to proceed to the very important thank yous. I want to thank Linda Rice in absentia, so great of her to spend time with us today. Thank Georgie Velasquez for his memories and insights. We'll thank Joe DePerio for coming up with this brainchild and being with us tonight. And most of all, we want to thank George All for putting this whole thing together, for believing in this dream, living this dream, and inviting us all to participate. George, thank you so much for the opportunity to participate and talk about this special horse tonight on this webinar. It's been a real pleasure for me to be a part of it. And I can't say enough about how much fun I had doing this. Check out sportblocks.com. That's all we've got for tonight. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatow. Thank you so much for joining us, and may you win all your Travers Day photos.